And we're back. What have we been playing? Want to talk about Firebreak? The hit co-op shooter from Remedy?
Well, I think some of those words are true.
Find out which ones.
I should have said smash hit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They made deals with Sony to have it like on PlayStation Plus. They made deals with Microsoft to have it on Game Pass. Like I think there's reason to think, regardless of what happens with like Firebreak, that they were going into it with reasonable.
They were playing some house money.
I have no idea. We'll find. They're the rare studio where like you'll just find out. They have to disclose that stuff eventually. But yeah, we played FBC Firebreak, the Control universe co-op multiplayer shooter.
It's been 6 years now since we've been locked in with the hiss. I don't care about your day job if you can hold a gun and use a tool. Firebreak needs you. I'll be frank with you, this ain't an easy shift, but at least you won't be alone. Your fellow Firebreakers will have your back. Fighting together, fixing together, and hell, even showering together.
I'm not being arch. I do feel like the initial reception, a lot of coverage was really like mixed, to be generous.
I think
yes.
It was very like the expectations were super tempered. It was like, this is a game that was made. The people who made it made other games we liked. Is this one of those? Not really, but I don't hate it. Like, that was kind of the vibe. I haven't played it because I'm not a big multiplayer person. I love the Remedy stuff, but yeah, everyone kind of said like it has some cool Remedy DNA, but the actual feeling of like the line I've heard people go back to, I'm curious if y'all agree with this, is that it's like, what if you took out like the cool story lore stuff and just left the shooting, but the shooting's like the thing they're worst at. So like that's kind of rough. But like, was that y'all's experience, or was it a little bit more intriguing than that?
So I think the thing that's crucial to preface, because I do think if you might be the sort of person who would like this game if generally you don't always like these games, or sort of the treadmill-y aspect of them. Like, if you come into this with, I want some good sessions and to do like a cool mission with buddies, my initial impression was this is actually a more interesting one of those. I do think that if you're like, well, is it going to have the legs of a Vermintide or a Helldivers 2, then yeah, it's probably going to compare pretty poorly to one of those. But I'm somebody who's like, I had a good time with those games, but like I can't, like, I don't do lifestyle games that way. I don't like hop on those treadmills and like, man, I fucking love this Vermintide mission. Let me just keep cranking the difficulty slider up and like getting more loot. That's not really us. Like, I think, with our Space Marine saga, you saw Patrick and I hitting our limit of like our ability to, well, we weren't even really repeating runs, right? We were just more like kind of bummed that we didn't get any cool unlocks just from going through a pretty beefy multiplayer campaign. And by the end of that, we still hadn't really seen
one perk unlock for one weapon as long as you specialized in it. And you got to the end of it, it was like, oh, I can see the treadmill. And the treadmill is 20, 30, 40 hours of playing this.
Resistance to the max.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just climbing.
This isn't a powered treadmill.
Straight up a hill. And we wanted to like push back on us a little bit, but like we're going to get off the treadmill and like go somewhere else after this. And the game, that game does not, which is the dance all those games are playing, right? Because I agree with you. Like, I think I'm lower on Firebreak than y'all sounded like at the end of our session, but it is a quintessential, like, fun game with friends, like, has a unique stuff going for it, has enough of the Remedy stuff. Not enough, like, I would, if you don't like at all multiplayer, like, games, co-op shooters, like, but you like Remedy stuff, there's nothing here for you. Like, there is not even a semblance really made to try and tell much of a story. But if you do like, you know, it's like the multiplayer equivalent of a podcast game, like a game to like spend time with. Is there enough unique things that you're doing? And I found it was very successful at that. The like shooting and abilities and like what each individual person, like their quote job is, was just different enough that it had us synergizing in like really fun ways. Like constantly having like telling Kato, please don't walk around that corner. We need your gloops. We need your glops. We need you to drench the shit out of these enemies, especially when we did the arc, which is like I think the second mission, which is the what do you call it? The sticky notes, like the sticky note arc.
Yeah.
We kind of completed that set of missions, and that one is really critical for where we all ended up specializing. Like Rob specializing in like these like distraction things, and Kato specializing in wetting the enemies, which is a phrase I don't like to say, but is true. Make them wet.
Moist them up.
You know, soak them up, Kato, as we say.
Them.
And because that's the only way to inflict real damage, was the only way to like do the meta layer quest, which is like destroying enough of these sticking. Anyway, it's all just to say, like, there was enough unique stuff, and I'm with Rob. Like, I need something that's like these games are often not made for me, and that's fine. But it is fun when you can find one.
Yeah.
It's not made for me, but it feels like, I don't know, like it worked for me. Like I'm excited. Like when we record this, we're going to finish this, have lunch, and then we're going to get on stream and do like another session with the game. And I'm looking forward to that. I have like head empty after I did the stream, didn't think about it, didn't feel any pull to go back to that game, but I'm excited to like play with you guys and like to play through more of that stuff. And I can imagine, especially if you have a PlayStation Plus or a Game Pass, like, hey, like what's a fun way to spend a Friday night with some friends? Like this is like an extremely good way to spend that time. Whether it's successful as a live service game, don't ask me. Uninterested. Like once again, we found ourselves finding friction with the very thing we found friction with Warhammer, which was we didn't collect enough little the notes on the ground so I could get like the perk upgrade.
We didn't even start collecting the weird goos or manas or whatever the fuck they are to unlock the real shit. But and that I think is also kind of a weird thing about where this genre exists, because I think this genre has a ton of like casual appeal. I would have once upon a time considered it an inherently casual genre, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's an era where a lot of shooters and action games had some sort of like wave-based survival modes and such, and every one of those had tons of games had those, but they weren't the main attraction. But like they were fun to dip out of with buddies. And for me, like the zenith of this, for my interest in it, was like the Left 4 Dead series. You know, like the 2 years where I was like super into Left 4 Dead. Some of my favorite multiplayer memories, and that had no progression loop at all. It was just like, do you want to like crank the difficulty even higher and run around with like shotguns and automatic rifles killing zombies? Yes, I do.
Well, I think you Left 4 Dead existed before it turned into a formula for making money, right? Like there was a purity to those games, which is like, how do we make the loop itself fun? Like,
yes.
And I don't mean loop in terms of like getting you on the treadmill to unlock a progression like arc and getting new skills and things to equip. It's just like, do you want to do another run? And then you change the modifiers because the run itself was maximalized to be the most interesting version of itself without any like. And the reason you'll play it for 100 hours is because what happens across those runs will be different enough with different people and different things that can happen. Whereas here, the ability for a run to be interesting and different is now limited by your time investment.
Yes.
And that is deeply frustrating if you're someone like I think most of us on this call are to varying degrees, are people who are just very casually interested. Like if I could pay, I don't want this, but if I could pay $20, could I just have the whole skill tree? I would have so much more fun with this game if we could spend 45 minutes specking out like everything our characters could do, and then we could spend 6 hours going through all the content. And maybe that's a bad business model, but it would be a much more fun video game to enjoy. And I don't know what to do with that, but I haven't really thought about it in those terms till you pointed out Left 4 Dead, which is like, if there's been rumors of like Valve making a Left 4 Dead 3, and like part of my worry about them ever going back to that is like if they didn't, inevitably, wouldn't they adopt many of the same layering that has happened to all games like
Back
this?
4 Blood did.
Right, and it was much worse for it.
Yeah, like the game had its charms, but yeah, it didn't. A lot of those systems were kind of goofy and just annoying to interact with. But it's a weird thing because it's somewhere along the line, this genre, which goes from, hey, you just want to hang out with your buddies on voice chat and like kill some monsters. Hell yeah, sign me the fuck up. Let's do it. This is going to become a load bearing pillar of my social life in my 30s. Absolutely. Somewhere in there, though, that genre becomes, like a lot of things, for dedicated enthusiasts, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't play with us because we are now, like, doing the max difficult. We're doing, like, raid level difficulties with the, like, extra punishing modifiers on the run. So if you don't really, like, have it memorize exactly what you're supposed to do, you're kind of out. This is what we play now. This is just what we do. And I am never going to be the sort of person who's like, yeah, no, I want to play something like Left 4 Dead at a really super high level all the time. I want that to be as sweaty as fuck. And so it's kind of a weird thing where the genre, which I view as like inherently casual, kind of fun to hang out with friends doing, the games are increasingly tuned and built for. It makes all the sense in the world. You target the people who like your type of game and are most enthusiastic about it. So you're going to give them, like, we want just high-level content so we can keep playing it. Absolutely. Yes, here you go. Enjoy. Eat up. But for me, it's kind of a weird thing where, but I'm mostly just here to, like, hang out a few times with buddies and, like, hopefully see some cool things, have cool missions, like, have some laughs doing it. And in a weird way, I think the things that might hurt Firebreak as it's judged against that genre kind of make it work a bit better for me because, like, is this thing going to hold up for, like, hell no, I don't think so.
Also, maybe it shouldn't. Maybe fundamentally games shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to be done with things. Like, do I think this thing has, like, we will probably not play it a ton together. We might do one more stream of it, and that might be it. If I, like, had, you know, more time, a more regular gaming group, this is probably something I could easily hit, like, you know, 20, 30, 40 hours in. But again, it's not going to become a lifestyle game in that way. And that's great because I don't want it to be. But the genre has become sort of dominated by the expectations of, like, a lot of the lifestyle stuff. Like, well, how is this going to scale? What's the progression like? How interesting is it going to be the, you know, dozenth time you do this run? And those questions are important to those people. They're less important to me because it's like, but how amused will you be first, second time on these runs? Maybe you turn up the difficulty a little bit. How's that gonna land for you? And for me, like, you know, based on that stream, it lands pretty well. There's some and crucially, I think it also does have some more interesting twists in it than a lot of these games do. Like, the thing that really stood out to me was the sticky note. If you remember Control, there's sort of the room full of the sticky notes that's just everywhere. In Firebreak, you go into a level, the sticky notes have basically, like, they're taking over everything. They're like the gray goo, but it's sticky notes, and they're just taking over this floor. And you're sent in there to destroy the sticky notes, and you can only do that by getting them wet, and then they're susceptible to damage, and then you can destroy them. So far, so straightforward. You got to kill X number of sticky notes. Not too hard. It's basically a power washer simulator thing with guns, etc. But then, like, they start introducing some of the monsters, and you have the sticky note guys running around who introduce kind of this weird chaotic element, and they can just, like, one hit kill you and take you over and turn you into a sticky note guy who is now, like, smashing your team to pieces. And there was just enough of that, like, unexpected, like, hey, what the hell's that thing coming at me? Oh shit, I didn't know it could do that. that Firebreak surprised me in a way that a lot of these games do not, because so often it's like, oh, is that an unusual enemy? I'll bet it has more hit points, or it has an armor layer or something like that you got to peel off before you can kill. A lot of times, like, there's enemy variety, but doesn't necessarily generate interesting encounter. It just generates, like, okay, here's a bullet sponge enemy. Here's a area denial, like, like kamikaze enemy who's gonna run up and explode on you. It doesn't necessarily generate a lot of interesting, like, surprises. Firebreak had just enough of that, and your kit is just goofy enough that, like, it kind of comboed together in interesting ways and made it a lot of fun, like, navigating some of those encounters. Arguably, in some places, maybe better than Space Marine. Maybe the Space Marine shooting was better, but you know what? I do love getting the loudspeaker playing instead of playing the role of the pipe bomb in Left 4 Dead, where you have to, like, take a minute and get this thing fired up to draw off enemies, because if you don't, you're going to get overwhelmed. So you need to have something to sort of lure them away from you while you set up your defense. That stuff kind of hits, and there's just enough interesting twists that, like, I'm consistently entertained and maybe a bit surprised. And a lot of these games don't manage that on the first run, and I certainly am not going to have the interest in, like, because they didn't hit me in that way, like, at first. No fucking way am I doing, like, run number 20 to do this shit. To what? Get a purple gun? Hell no, I'm not doing that.
Kado's done that,
Yeah.
so I wonder, from your perspective, as someone that is, like, the person in our group that has played one of these games, like, what do you make of that?
How is one of these?
Destiny? It's a treadmill
It's
game.
not a Destiny-like, but...
No, but
Yeah.
but I think they live in the same sort of, like, a very different type of game. But, like,
Yeah.
a game that you are meant to return to repetitively,
Right.
and to do, like, additional runs to amass, like, to go through a progression path. And what that path is can be different, but I think they're, well, fundamentally very different experiences, like, gesturing at a similar sort of ask from the player and time investment.
I think the one of these games that, like, hit the closest to, like, the way that Destiny functions was Helldivers through its meta narrative. Basically, that was the thing that kept me going back to Destiny, right? Was just the fact that they were still doing essentially single player narrative stuff that you would do by yourself before doing the, like, co-op, like, repetitive stuff for grinding, right? But, like, I do think one of the things that these games tend to have a problem with is making like, putting too much stuff behind the progression, where to the point where the initial play of it feels real bad. Like, I think the fact it like worked out fine because the first unlock kind of, like, sped things up. But if I had to use the base version of the water gun, which only allows you to do like a few globules at a time, it's like basically like a big, like, AoE, like, sploik, but it's, like, really slow. And, like, during those first missions, it was fine because I didn't have a lot of, like, targets that I needed to splash. But if I had still needed to use that by the time we got to fucking Sticky Ricky, we would have been fucked. But very quickly,
That wasn't his name, was it?
Yes.
Yes, it
Well,
actually was. I think it was.
He has an official name that was.
I thought it was Sticky Ricky.
But that's not what it said at the top.
Okay.
I'll look at. He had, like, an official classification, but he was referred to as Sticky Ricky in the.
I mean, the guides say how to defeat Sticky Ricky, so I'm gonna just go with that then.
His name is Sticky Ricky. But
That's awesome.
I very quickly upgraded that. The first upgrade you get for that gun is a basically a chain gun mode on the thing, where I could just, like, rev it up the way you would, like, the heavies minigun in TF2 or whatever, and just, like, start splashing everywhere. And that made it a lot more
Threshold
fun.
Entity 14N, also
My
known
friends
as
call me
Sticky
Sticky
Ricky.
Ricky.
But my friends know me as Sticky Ricky. And, like, I think FBC very quickly, for me at least, escaped that issue that some of these games have. Like I think Helldivers escaped it just by the virtue of the gunplay being really, really tight. The gunplay in this game is like fine, passable, but what really stands out to me is the sort of way that they split roles for people. Like the boombox is technically a thing that anyone of any like kit can do, but the person who has the electric shock thing, you can just turn it on by zapping it. Basically, you have to zap it enough times. It's much faster than doing the little mini game that everyone else has to do, but it creates this interesting dichotomy where like if you have a higher priority target, someone else can still get that piece of equipment going, which is really fun. Like the fact that you can, most of the time someone will be like, hey, come. Like I remember like one of the like in the Sticky Ricky fight, one of the things that I was trying to keep up with was one of the items was a water-based item that I could splash to turn on. And when I could get over there, the issue was getting over there. I could splash it with water instead of having to do the little mini game, and that makes it faster, right? Or like when we would see a boombox, we'd be like, "Hey Rob, boombox for you! Like, come get this!" Like having the reason to like call people over to a certain spot and like keep that communication like going and fun and like interesting. I think they did a really good job with that part of the game, which I think is why it hit for me a lot earlier. But I think long term, like it would be like they would have to add more of these little vignettes, because basically the story structure is that they have these like 3-tiered missions, right? And at least before the patch, I heard that the patch changed this. You would do one tier of the mission, which is very short, but you get like a little upfront story beat, and then like as it expanded, just technically you're returning to like solve the same issue, but like things have changed slightly, which explains why you go deeper each time. Now I think the new patch unlocks chapter 3 for everything, so as you start the game, you just jump into the full mission all at once, and I'm curious whether or not they throw out the narrative framing, because some of those things would like mention that you had been there before, and it's like light narrative framing. You could very easily miss it if you're not paying attention, but it was in the Remedy style, so I was kind of like half paying attention to like the way the guy was talking. I thought it was interesting and fun, so I'm like curious where those if those lines will just like show up on repeat runs instead of like this slow escalation of like, well, this new thing is now happening with the sticky notes, and it's like, that's fine, I guess. But I do think that the whole mission was the most like interesting part of it. Like the one, I was like, this is such a short run. It feels very short for this type of game, right? It was like we were done. Like it was over so fast that I thought we were missing something, or I was like, wow, they really wanted these to not be too long. Like they were hoping that it almost felt like they were worried that if a single session took too long, people wouldn't like redo it or something, right?
Yeah.
But it was just this like weird escalation feeling that they wanted to give them, that I think I can kind of see what you want to do, right? Like the oldest house has these things that like crop up, and the problems are never dealt with, only contained temporarily. So like narratively, like it all kind of made sense, but then like actually doing the loops over and over again did get a little bit more repetitive, where the third one was like the most interesting version, and it could have just been the entire mission the first time, I guess. But I can see them trying to ease people into what the mission structure is like and what the environmental things are like, because there's a lot of like weird, funny interactions and environmental things, like the fire fans, where if you are the one turning the fans on in there, you have to get out quickly or else you will die in a jet of fucking stream of fire. Or like I can try to put you out as the water person. I could try to make it like not hurt you as much by
seems like
water.
I still died every time I went into that fan.
Yeah, there were some times.
I don't think it was your fault. It just felt like, hey, don't worry about it. You're
just gonna die.
I'll respawn. Because I think that the tricky part that they ran into is, and it's got to be very difficult with these games, is sure, like I think within 20 minutes we all sort of figured out like, all right, understand the flow. but then it's like, oh, to get where we want to be, where it's like, just like let me like play the game how I want to play and find my fun with like what you set up here. It's like, oh, that's hours away. That's hours and hours and hours away. And the game's not meeting me where I'm at. And it's one thing for a progression to feel like a natural ladder that you're like, oh, like I'm going up this ladder with the game. And I think like with Warhammer, with at least the version of this that we played this game, our impressions are before they put out a patch that was like, whoa. They said 90% of their data showed 90% of players were not picking up the upgrade currency, the little papers on the ground.
Yeah.
90% of players were not picking up a single one, which is a design failure. That is a out and out UI failure, like not communicating to the audience.
It was like it could have used a little more tutorialization. It felt like.
Yeah, at the same time, this is one of those things that makes me like sympathize with developers a little bit.
Yeah,
because
no, absolutely.
You shoot a dude, and folders explode out of him in the ground.
Yeah, but the game doesn't communicate basic things either. Like, is it a shared currency or is it a team currency? We just figured that out after the fact. Like the game has a pretty bad tutorial. Like it is both a tutorial and also just you're tossed into the game. And
well, I think we need. Here's the question I have actually is ultimately, did we miss something by not following the tutorial? Because it had this setup where I think you're supposed to just do a run solo first. Like when it like launched me into it, it like didn't say anything about connecting with people or matchmaking. It was just like, go do this mission, and then I like backed out and then joined your party instead. And I'm curious whether or not there was something there that you're quote unquote supposed to hit, but they didn't put a wall on it just to let people get into a group with their friends as quickly as possible.
I mean, there's other stuff like so the basic currency that you get, which are these papers that like, and then the game has pages that you're going through, which are the progression arc for additional like skins and weapon upgrades. We all used me as a guinea pig, which was like, hey Patrick, like if you go and spend that currency on the skill tree page and you get a skill, does that count towards you unlocking the next page of items? Because you have to spend, let's say, like 30 points in order for page 2 to unlock. It's like, I'll do it. It doesn't carry over. It doesn't. I just I didn't waste 5, but like, it also meant I was behind the team, right? Like it meant that you were unlocking.
Patrick's getting dragged in these streams. Basically, like the worst thing that happened. Patrick goes
but also
it should
have worked that way.
Okay, I gotcha.
Right. If it's not gonna,
it should have communicated to me like, hey, by the way, this does not contribute. I mean, it should just contribute. Like if I'm spending the currency,
if it's the same currency, that's the thing. That's the issue. I think it is that it should have been a different currency if it wasn't going to overlap this like progression tree a little bit.
Correct.
It's not. Like, there's always that thing that people say of like, well, but it's an interesting choice. Which one do you unlock first? It's like, I don't think those choices in this. There's
no interesting choice to make that early in the game. Which is instead, I just felt like a dope because like, oh, I didn't really need to like run 10% faster or whatever it was. Like, I actually would rather have page 2 that shows me, like we were getting to the point where we'd be able to buy, like the item that Rob has, the boombox, is something that just like appears in the world that Rob can use. But now we were getting to the point where that's just something we can use. Like that's an item that we can equip, which makes the game more interesting to have that as an equipable item, and thus makes like the higher end runs more possible because you can do more to deal with the space around you. So, the fact that they like pretty quickly were like, oh yeah, the first hour kind of sucks, and people aren't picking up the papers. I'd rather they be overly reactive and like tuned towards like folks trying to have a good time in those first couple hours. So it makes me interested to see what it's like for us because we kind of did the first couple of hours. What does that mean for us as we head into?
Apparently, we're getting more papers now.
Good.
That's one of the tweaks they made, was just kind of like tweaking the rate of drops. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how quickly you can catch up to us, Patrick.
Can you play less than like it's 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Can you play less than 3 people, or it'll just fill a rando if you only have 2?
I'm not sure if it matchmakes automatically. As it might though. It might just matchmake when you try to start a level. I'm not 100% though.
No, you can play with 2 people, and you can choose to not matchmake if you would like to play co-op.
We'll see.
Do you
maybe I'll
need at
try
least
it.
2? Or can you like try to solo them? Which seems
I don't think I'd want to solo it.
No,
No, that game doesn't seem like fun. Like it's
I also
not.
don't. I'm also curious if you're only 2. Does it know that, and does it change for that, or is it just gonna be like mad hard at like 2 versus 3?
Hmm.
Is also a concern I have.
yeah.
You can play solo, but
Huh.
it is not recommended.
No, there's too much like interplay between like the different abilities that I feel like you need at least 2 people to like at least a shocker and a wetter, you know? Maybe you could do without the whacker.
I don't.
Maybe you could do without the
Kato,
whacker, but you
Kato,
need a shocker and
Kato.
a wetter.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait,
What?
wait, no,
What?
no, no. No. No.
What is it?
No.
What's everyone?
You can't just say words like that.
For free? Chia, for free?
For free?
Well, actually, I guess people can pay for the content.
Yeah, go
I guess
to
maybe it's
radio.com
sort of a, yeah. Actually, you know what?
for more of this content.
Different audiences. I don't know. Different audiences.
2 new tiers just dropped. 2 new
Yeah.
support tiers just dropped.
Suspicious content. We just drop anything that's like a little bit in that gray area. Maybe I'll give it a go then, because I do have some codes. Might make Isaiah play with me, but I don't have high hopes because
I don't think you're gonna like it. I don't think you're gonna have a very good time.
if you already know I'm not gonna like it.
But you
could
should
save
try.
me 15
How much
minutes.
did you?
You should. You should. Try. I would be curious for you to try it, given that you say, because I don't. If you were to ask me, Patrick, do you like playing multiplayer co-op games? I would tell you no. And then, but then sometimes I do.
Yeah.
And like,
But how much
Same.
did you like Helldivers?
Oh, I told Evers.
I liked it when we were playing. Again, like with these games, I like it when it's like, hey, does everyone want to get on a stream and do this together? I have a great time, and then immediately, I don't ever need to do that again. So it's
It's
kind
kind
of
of the
like,
hot chicken place of the gaming.
oh,
But
sometimes like you go to a thing and it's not the thing you wanted to go to, but you
Sure.
go there like this is fun. But like it's not a game. It's not something I feel a natural pull towards. But I do have a good time. Sometimes I didn't care for
Yeah.
the Alien one from a a couple of years
Oh, I
back.
kind of like that one.
we'll see. I'd be playing it with Isaiah. I worry he won't enjoy the gun because he didn't. I forget where he lands on Alan Wake. It wasn't, but the fact that it's a debate is already a little bit of a concern.
Mm. This is
Did
not
he like-
He's not a big fan of
Did
the
he like
gunplay.
Helldivers?
Yes,
Okay, so he
But,
can
like,
like a game like this.
I think
It's
he's
just-
a bit more of a gunplay boy than I am. So, even
Sure.
though like I like the gameplay of Control a lot, like I think game of Control is awesome.
This game is
Um,
missing. Actually, this is the thing that I found pretty disappointing was how straight the game plays the abilities. Like, how much cooler would this game have been if you had some of these supernatural control
Yeah.
style abilities? Like, I actually find the presence of guns as like the main interaction point. Like, that's the least interesting part
Sure, yeah.
of FBC Firebreak, and unfortunately, like it's like the primary thing. Like, every time I'm doing something that doesn't involve shooting, I think is fundamentally more interesting than and the shooting's not bad,
Sure.
but it more feels like I'm doing the shooting to get to the cool thing, which was like the boss, Sticky Ricky. It's like you, like the two of you are doing.
I
like,
really want to meet this guy.
it's a really cool boss. Crowd
Yeah.
control on the boss, but I was like, I was so happy to be the mechanic character. Where like I'm going and like whacking like these different stations, and then pulling these levers in order to like get
Whacking,
him.
shocking, wedding.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got a whacker, a shocker, and a wetter.
And that was fun. And like the shooting's again, it's fine. But I found myself sitting with it more like a little, actually like pretty like part of what makes Control so
Sure.
interesting in the combat is like not firing a pistol. It's all the kind of like what does the supernatural setting allow you to do? And in FBC Firebreak, it's like, well, what if you had like a machine gun? It's like, less
Sure, yeah.
interesting.
I mean, they had,
We'll see.
you know,
We played a good amount of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, so I feel like anything is possible. You know, no, we didn't finish it. We didn't finish it.
No, neither of us did. Neither of us
We
did.
didn't finish it because it was like it got to that point where it's like, just no one said anything, and we kind of just. You know what
I made
mean?
it
Like, me and I think
90. I made it all the way to the final mission because I thought I'd beaten it, and then it was like,
you know, you
there's
need
like
to finish it though.
there's like one more thing to do, and I'm like,
Were you playing alone, Patrick? Were you playing by yourself?
Yeah,
That's rough.
it was not good.
Wow. Oh no. Yeah. It was like because I do think while there's the classic debate on like is the game good or is hanging out with your friends good? Like me and Isaiah are already hanging out all the time, so it's like what if there was like a basic activity to do? You know what I mean? Like the game doesn't even need to really be that good when it's in this context, which I'm hoping Firebreak. So yeah, maybe I'll give it a go because I do have code for it that I've just sort of been sitting on. I'll report back if I end up.
If you do, I would be interested to see what your. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can predict your response, but I'd be interested.
Yeah,
to
it's
see
probably
what
just
you
your
thought of it.
response. So just close my eyes. That's whatever you're saying.